is on to legalize marijuana for recreational use in Michigan. Two committees have raised a total of $257,000 in an effort to get the issue on the November ballot.
Now, under the proposal, the state would tax commercial-grade marijuana at 10%. That's on top of the state's 6% sales tax. Joining us now to discuss this is Matt Marsden with the Michigan Cannabis Coalition and Rocky Richkowski, who served in the State House for 6 years. Thank you both so much for joining us. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Matt, let's start with you here. Why are you backing the legalization of marijuana here in Michigan?
Well, we believe it will become a new industry in Michigan, and with reasonable regulation and reasonable revenue streams dedicated to education, public safety, and public health, I believe that we can create a new industry that will create jobs. And much like the microbrewing industry, much like the local distillery industry, by properly regulating for adult consumption with a 21 years of age and older lawful mandate, and moving it off of the black market and into places you have to show your driver's license in order to purchase, it creates a revenue stream that currently doesn't exist in Michigan on an agricultural commodity.
Okay, so Rocky, you're against legalizing marijuana. Why do you think this would be bad for Michigan?
Boy, that was well capsulated, wasn't it? But it just doesn't sell. The reason that I'm against this is pointing to a Northwestern University study that showed that marijuana use over a certain long period of time basically degenerates the brain and transforms the brain and makes people less motivated. Now, we all know functioning marijuana users in today's illegal society, but there are a lot more that aren't functioning, and the Social Security Administration points that 1.7% of our population is currently receiving Social Security disability because of marijuana addiction. Now, Matt makes a very good point, and he says, we're going to regulate this, we're going to control this, but you're not going to control the black market because teenagers we're going to see an increase of marijuana use amongst teenagers. I don't want my surgeon or my pilot to be using marijuana and then stop before they fly the plane or before they serve or perform an operation.
Matt, talk about those health risks that he just brought up there. Those concern you or no?
No. First of all, there is no study that says that marijuana is addictive. And no, on the kids aspect of it, right now the kids are getting access to it because anyone can go get a medicinal card from a doctor. If you put this in a storefront where you have to have an ID, where you have to walk in and purchase it, we're going to stop teenagers from either getting it in the black market currently or getting it into the gray market. Now, strictly regulating something along the lines of a six-pack of beer or being able to walk into a casino and drop 20 bucks on a blackjack game is currently regulated by the state and lawful, and seems to me, for the most part, pretty well respected by people that are 21 years of age and older. Kids are not going to get their hands on regulated marijuana.
Oh, come on, Matt. If you think that kids aren't going to get a hold of there, and you're telling me that there's never been a minor in possession of alcohol from their parents' bar in their basement or wherever.
Well, if you want to control the THC levels, if you want to control THC levels, if you want to test it, you want to put a properly safe product into the market, which is an agricultural product, by the way. It grows in the ground, Rocky.
I realize that, but there's a lot of things that grow. Opium grows in the ground as well.
It's not an opiate, and the comparison has nothing to do with
it. It does because it stays in your body for over 21 days.
Opiates and marijuana are two different things, sir. Really.
Let me interrupt you guys for 1 second. Matt, have you run any numbers on how much money you think would be generated here in Michigan if this were to become legal?
I think in a state of the population of 9.8 million and 12.4% of possible recreational marijuana users could generate anywhere from $200 to $800 million in taxable revenue, could save law enforcement anywhere from $25 to $60 million in savings of busting petty crimes for dime bags. And I think that it would also more importantly, give law enforcement its first dedicated stream of revenue in the state budget. And you know this to be true, Rocky. Law enforcement currently has no dedicated stream of revenue, which would allow them to go out and test rape kits and get more equipment and do better law enforcement work with a dedicated revenue stream.
You sound like a crime-fighting individual that's willing to fight for our future, but you're not. You're actually hurting our kids and our children's future.
How am I hurting children
by
making it 21 years ago? This is an adult. This is an adult decision
to
make.
Alcohol, Matt. You've got to
be
right.
You just made the point.
Island.
And how much money does the state generate in revenue off of alcohol sales and off of casino gambling in the state of Michigan?
Casino gambling,
tobacco,
different than marijuana.
How so, sir?
Marijuana is still considered
it's actually probably better for you than alcohol if you talk to a lot of doctors.
Me?
No, I'm not kidding you. Go do your homework, Rocky.
Northwestern University, not a mecca of conservative thought, did the research for me. And they basically said that that's just not the case.
Okay.
Matt, I just want to follow up on something that Rocky brought up. What about surgeons and pilots? I mean, if it's legalized, how do we stop people that need to have a clear head for their jobs from using it?
Our group establishes the Michigan Cannabis Control Board that operates much in the same way that the State Liquor Control Commission operates, much in the same way that the Gaming Control Board acts. This group of individuals appointed by the governor and the speaker and the Senate Majority Leader would appoint and propagate the rules and regulations by which marijuana would be legal in the state of Michigan.
Obviously, people that I would trust with the future of deciding.
Well, considering 3 of them are with an agricultural background, and this is an agricultural product, I think it would be fairly good to trust.
Yeah, but you
experts
didn't answer.
in the
You didn't
industry.
answer Heather's question.
I did answer it. The Michigan Cannabis Control Board would establish and propagate the rules by which these things are governed.
Well, what rules are you proposing?
I'm not proposing any rules. The Cannabis Control Board and the legislature will
That's
work
why
together.
this has a lot of holes. And when it
No,
goes
it
up
doesn't.
to
Rocky,
the ballot,
you know full well as a guy
I'm
running for
suggesting
office,
that
you
people
know
should
how ballot
Guys,
Guys,
let me interrupt because we can't understand when you're both talking. But before we go, Matt, I just want to ask you, do you think your group will ultimately collect enough signatures here to put this on the ballot in 2016?
I absolutely do. We've collected 45,000 signatures in just over 15 days. That's probably a record for a ballot proposal. That demonstrates the interest on the street for this particular ballot proposal. And like I said, if it's responsibly regulated and properly put revenue to it, I think it would be an new industry for the state of Michigan.
Rocky, I want to go back to you for just a minute. Sure. Obviously, it's legal now in Colorado, Washington, Oregon, Alaska, but what's the difference with those states and Michigan, in your opinion?
Well, we haven't had a long-term study on what's happening in Colorado. We've seen a lot of problems, societal problems in Colorado, and starting to be basically show themselves in Washington. But let me ask you this. Would you want to take a test drug that doesn't have that much study behind it? No, nobody would. You'd want to make sure that there's background study and see what happens, not just after 1 year. 1 year does not make a determination of Michigan jumping into this fracas and basically supporting marijuana. You know, we've supported medical marijuana, and it turned out to be a farce because it's not under a physician's. Well, you can get a physician prescription, but it's not in a pharmacy that you'd be getting it. You could get it from a person that had a medical marijuana license issued to him after a 2-hour class.
So, Rocky, you'd rather raise taxes than...
You know what, guys? I'm sorry. We've got to end our discussion there. One thing we can always guarantee, you're not going to agree, and it's going to be heated. And we appreciate both of you.
We appreciate the debate.
That's for sure. Rocky Richkowski and Matt Marsden, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
For
Thank
both.
you.
Yeah.